Welcome to qnawire.
Our first problem is a boundary value problem. The problem is we need to solve the differential equation 4y prime prime minus 4y prime plus y equals 0, and the boundary values are y of 0 equals 4 and y of 2 equals 0. So we need to first form the characteristic equation. So the characteristic equation will be 4r square minus 4r plus 1 equals 0. So this thing will be our characteristic equation. Alright, so let's solve this characteristic equation. So we can solve this characteristic equation by using the quadratic formula. Since this is a quadratic equation, the quadratic formula is r equals minus b plus or minus whole root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. Over here we can see that a equals 4, the first term, b equals negative 4, the second term, and c equals positive 1. So let's plug in these values of a, b and c to find the value of r. So r equals negative 4, that's just 4, plus or minus square root of b square is 16, since negative 4 square is 16, minus 4 times a is 4, times c is just positive 1, over 2 times a, that's again 2 times 4. So solving this equation, this gives r equals 4 plus or minus square root of 16 minus 4 into 4 into 1 is just 16, over 4 2s are 8. Therefore r equals 4 plus or minus square root of 0 over 8, and therefore the value of r is just half. Okay, since r is a double root, the general solution will be y of x equals c1 e to the power rx plus c2 x e to the power rx, where c1 and c2 are any constants. So let's plug in the value of r into this equation, and we get y of x equals c1 e to the power half times x plus c2 x e to the power 1/2 multiplied by x. So we need to figure out what c1 and c2 are. So we can do that by using the initial value, the boundary values. So the boundary values were right here. Y of 0 is 4 and y of 2 is 0. Y of 0 is 4 and y of 2 equals 0. So let's plug this in. So y of 0 becomes c1 e to the power 1/2 multiplied by 0 plus c2 into 0 e to the power 1/2 multiplied by 0, and that just equals 4, and y of 2 is equal to c1 e to the power 1/2 multiplied by 2 plus c2 multiplied by 2 into 1/2 multiplied by 2 equals 0. So let's try to solve the first equation. The first equation becomes c1, anything raised to 0 is 1, so this just becomes 1, plus c2 multiplied by 0, so this multiplied by 0, the whole term becomes 0, equals 4. So this just implies c1 takes value 4. Let's figure out what c2 is using this equation. So let's plug in the value of c1. 4 times e to the power 1 plus 2c2 e to the power 1 equals 0. So we can take 2e common from both the terms, so 2e out as common, so this becomes 2 plus c2 equals 0. Here this is a multiplication of two terms in which the first term is non-zero, so when you multiply these two terms the answer is 0, hence this term over here must be 0. So 2 plus c2 equals 0, and this implies that c2 is equal to -2. So we have figured out what c1 and c2 are. So let's plug them into our general form, that is this equation over here. So our equation becomes y of x equals c1 is just 4 e to the power 1/2 of x plus -2 x e to the power 1/2 of x. So we can write the equation down as y of x is equal to 4 e to the power 1/2 of x -2 x e to the power 1/2 of x, and this is the final solution.